To shine a spotlight on a group of individuals whose stories often go unheard, whose struggles are often unseen, but whose resilience is truly remarkable. We're here to talk about the injured workers of Alberta. Alberta, like elsewhere, workers are the backbone of our economy. They build our cities, they fuel our industries, they keep our communities running smoothly. Yet what happens when these very individuals who contribute so much themselves are in need of support? What happens when they get injured? Do they receive the support and care they deserve? Unfortunately, for many injured workers in Alberta, the answer is far from satisfactory. Too often, they find themselves caught in a web of bureaucracy, corruption, and face endless delays and obstacles in their quest for compensation and rehabilitation. Imagine for a moment being unable to provide for your family because of an injury sustained while on the job. Imagine the physical pain, the emotional toll, and the financial strain. And we all know that too well, don't we?
Sure do.
Now imagine facing all that without adequate support from the very system that is supposed to support you. This is a reality for too many injured workers in Alberta. They deserve better. They deserve a system that prioritizes their well-being, that provides timely and fair compensation, and that ensures access to the medical care and rehabilitation services they need to recover and rebuild their lives. As a society, we have a moral obligation to take care of those who have been injured in the line of duty. It's not just about compassion, it's about justice. It's about recognizing the sacrifices these individuals have made, honoring their contributions to society. In Alberta alone, we see 45,000 injured workers per year. In most cases, these workers are able to return to work of some fashion. But there are those who cannot. Those whose injuries are far too severe. Far too often, those workers are forgotten. They are forced to fight in a system meant to protect them, causing mental anguish, stress, divorce, and in some cases, suicide. We've all seen this as well in our group, guys. We know. We've been there. Just to give an idea of how this is all done and how they set our restrictions on a physical injury, let's talk about the CFCE, the Comprehensive Functional Capacity Exam. This is how they set our restrictions. It's a 2-hour test over 2 days, and they base our restrictions based on that. Now, 2 hours is not an 8-hour shift. We are often told to take painkillers before these tests, opiate painkillers, which we can't work on. We're told to push past the pain as much and as far as we can, which we would never do for a full shift at a job. They don't take into consideration how we are after these tests. They don't see us for those 8 to 10 hours that we suffer because of them. Stories like this run rampant from injured workers. Mismanagement of claims, threats, denials, benefits cut with no warning or real reason. The system is broken, it's corrupt, and unfortunately, no one but injured workers know this or want to hear about it. Today we bring awareness. When injured workers are given a decision, they can choose to appeal it. It first goes from the CM to the supervisor, who generally supports the case manager in that decision. From there, it goes to the DRDRB. This stage can take a long time. For instance, my last request for a review from the DRDRB was a 13-month wait, only for them to twist the wording on it, and me have to contact their supervisor, who still holds that review in their office today. It's never been resolved. We're still waiting. If denied at the DRDRB, which most times we are, then we go to the Appeals Commission. Now, when we look at the statistics in 2022, there was 464 appeals that went from the DRDRB to the Appeals Commission. Of those, 150 were overturned, which is almost 30%. That is a massive failure by the DRDRB, by the case managers, and by the supervisors on injured workers. We should never have a stat that high. And a lot of the stats that we look at are a little bit skewed, because a lot more appeals go to the DRDRB, but when they're denied, their people drop them. They don't want to go to the next level because they feel like it's a waste of time. So we don't see the real stats coming out of this because workers are frustrated and they can't deal with it anymore. Injured workers who can't return to their employment also lose their medical and dental benefits. Most of us had those when we were injured, and we're not provided those through WCB today. It's an absolute failure of the system for our spouses, for our children, for us trying to provide a proper quality of life after our injuries. This is a problem that needs to be fixed. Today we are asking the Alberta government to meet with us. We did have a meeting yesterday with the minister, and I'll touch on that a little bit later. Injured workers, to meet with us injured workers, to find a solution to long-standing problems of mismanagement, mistreatment, and abuse of injured workers in this broken system. So what are we asking for? We're asking for medical benefits for long-term injured workers. We had them before and we need them now. This is a cost saving over the long run for WCB as well, because our medications and some of our treatments can be put through those medical benefits. This is a common sense, fiscally responsible solution. We want the Alberta WCB and the DRDRB held accountable for their actions. There is no accountability right now for the Alberta WCB. The Fair Practice Office is supposed to be there for us, but they're not. There's nobody there to complain to. And when we do complain, we are always ignored. So we want an external review body to ensure WCB and the DRDRB are held accountable for their actions, so they cannot misuse policy or refuse to adhere to it.
Here, here.
We're asking for injured workers on the board of the WCB because we have 2 workers rep right now, but they are HR and they are union people. Those are not the injured workers that need to be there. We have a plethora of very good injured workers that are on long-term disability and not able to work. But I guarantee they could be there for those board meetings. They only happen once every 3 months. And we need injured workers to represent injured workers on that board.
Here, here. Let's do it.
We also want a yearly meeting between the government, the board of the WCB, and injured workers. And I'm not talking about the AGM. I'm talking a separate meeting to hear the problems within the system from the people that are on it, because we're the ones that know. Others don't. Having worker representatives that have never had to go through WCB and don't understand the system is a waste of time, and it doesn't represent us. That needs to change. We're also looking for an expedited appeal process, because as I touched on earlier, the appeal process takes far too long. And a lot of people that are going through those appeals have their benefits cut off waiting for an outcome. That needs to change as well. There's no reason that the appeal process should take so long. We understand they're backed up because they refuse to adhere to policy. So more and more of us are appealing these decisions and fighting and winning against WCB. This should not be the case. If they followed policy, we wouldn't have a backed up appeal process. And we would also like to see benefits continue until appeals are complete. We can't be cutting off workers, expecting them to wait on a 1.5 to 2 year appeal process There's no way they can survive that. And we know this, and that needs to change. We're also asking for all communications between the WCB, claimants, and doctors that are done in phone calls, emails, or otherwise to be transcribed and added to the claim file. Because what we are seeing is WCB calling us and us having a conversation with them, and what they put in those reports, now that we get our full files and see those, is completely opposite of what we have talked about. They twist our words, they insert things, and they mark down what works for them, not what was actually talked about. We've seen this time and time again, and that needs to change. All these decisions happen based on what these phone calls have, and it doesn't work. We all know it doesn't work. These are the changes that a network of about 600 injured workers and their families who deal with these issues repeatedly came up with. We're not asking for anything unreasonable. We're asking for common sense, fiscally responsible changes that are easy to implement and will make the lives of injured workers 1,000,000 times better. Hopefully bringing down divorce rates, hopefully cutting back on suicide, giving us the quality of life that we deserve. Sorry, I lost the page. So let us commit ourselves to standing in solidarity with injured workers in Alberta. Let us advocate for WCB to follow policies that put the injured workers' needs first. Let us demand accountability from those responsible, including government, for ensuring that our rights are upheld. And let us never forget that behind every statistic, behind every case file, there's a human being whose life has been changed forever by a workplace injury. Together we can and we must do better. Thank you.